How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and I'm here today with the beginner's guide for Smash Ultimate. Now in the past, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't much of a Smash player, but after doing a ton of research on this game, I learned how deep these mechanics actually go. Believe it or not, this game's adorable and fun exterior actually houses a very complex fighting game. There was certainly a lot to discover, so today I wanted to pass that knowledge I learned on to you, so that hopefully that learning curve is a little bit easier. So first up, let's talk about movement. Now Smash is actually very unique in this regard, because most fighting games you can either walk forward, walk backward, or you can dash forward or dash backwards. And Smash has these options too, but a lot more as well. So for example, if I just gently push on the analog stick, I can walk back slower or walk forward slower. Whereas if I press down on it hard, I can go to a full sprint forward or backwards right away. And that's important because you can do certain attacks while sprinting. And I just find it interesting how this game actually lets you control how fast you move forward or backwards. You're not limited to just walking or dashing. And every character can also crouch by simply holding down. This lowers your hitbox, so certain attacks will now go over the top of you instead of hitting you in the head. And in fact, certain characters can actually move while crouching, both forward and backwards, which can be quite useful for maneuvering and getting closer to the opponent. And one more interesting thing about Smash Bros is that your character can sometimes be facing away from your opponent. And this actually becomes quite essential later on in the more advanced mechanics because sometimes you do want to face away from your opponent to get access to certain attacks while facing away. But I want to save that for later on. For now, let's talk about jumping, because jumping in this game is also quite unique. So for example, by default you can actually use the stick to jump. You can do up forward, up back, or up. However, I've actually disabled this feature because there's also a jump button in this game as well. And I find that to be more desirable, mainly because this game has both regular jumps and short jumps. To do a regular jump, simply press the jump button. To perform a short jump, tap it very lightly. And while short jumps can be a little bit difficult, they actually become quite essential at high level play, since it allows you to attack your opponent immediately after jumping. Not to mention you can fall faster and block faster once landing, although you can fall faster from both the regular jump and the short jump. So for example, if I do a regular jump, I can press down at the peak of my jump and fall down faster. Notice that little spark, and the same can also be done for my short jump. At the peak of my jump, I can press down to fall a little bit faster, and that's important for combos, blocking sooner, and other things of that nature. So for example, I could do a short hop into an attack and then fall right away. And last but not least, Smash also has a double jump feature. So for example, I can jump and then jump again, or I can short jump and then jump again. And I can jump in either direction as well. So I could jump forward and then double jump backwards, and vice versa, jump backwards, double jump forward. And this of course gives you a lot of aerial mobility. And that's about it for movement. So next let's talk about attacks. So there are two standard attack buttons in Smash. You have the A attack and the B attack. The B attack is specials, whereas the A button is for tilts and smash attacks, on top of the default attack, which can be pressed once or held down for multiple follow-ups. So let's go ahead and talk about the differences between tilt and smash attacks. Now for me personally, I'm still getting a handle on how to do these correctly, and thankfully this game does have a sensitivity option which makes it a bit easier to pull off tilts more consistently for someone like myself. To put it simply, a tilt is done by gently nudging the analog stick in a certain direction and then pressing the A attack, whereas a smash attack is done by pressing the analog stick completely in that direction with the A attack. So that's a forward smash, a back smash, up smash, and a down smash. And then you have the dash attacks, which is done at full sprint and then the A button. And there are several ways to get to a full sprint. You can hold all the way on the analog stick, so all the way forward or all the way back. You can double tap, which can be a bit faster in certain situations, and it's also better for changing directions, because you can go from a forward sprint to a backward sprint right away, and that can be pretty handy. However, you can also use both analog sticks to perform an instant sprint, so you can press forward on the left analog stick and down on the right analog stick at the same time to dash instantly. And this can become quite handy at high level play, since it allows you to dash instantly from a neutral position and then attack immediately afterwards. For me personally, I'm still not very good at it, but it's a nice advanced tactic to keep in mind. And of course, let's not forget about jumping, because while jumping you also have access to a bunch of different A attacks. You have the default A attack, which can be really good in the neutral, especially after a short hop, but you also have access to all the different directions, so you can do up A, forward A, back A, and down A. And these can all be done at any point in your jump, whether it be at the start, in mid-air, or on the way down. And next up, let's talk about the special attacks, which are done by pressing the B button. These are a bit less complicated than the A attacks because they only come in one flavor. So you have the neutral B attack, forward B, and back B, which for Mario are pretty much the same, only he changes directions to deflect incoming attacks from either side. and then you have up B and down B, which for Mario actually allows him to charge an attack to fire later on by pressing down B again. So Mario's a bit unique in that regard, but you'll find that every character is actually fairly unique in this game. And thankfully your B attacks don't change much in the air either. So you have your neutral B attack, you have your forward B, back B, up B, and your down B. So unlike the A attacks, which change completely once you're in the air, the B attacks are much more consistent and therefore easier to keep track of. And last but not least for the attacks, we have the throws. Now the throws can be done by pressing either of the shoulder buttons, and once you do, you grab hold of the opponent. Now the opponent can actually break away from this by either mashing the analog stick or mashing every face button, which means you actually have a short amount of time to get your damage dealt before they escape. So for example, you could mash the A or B button to get some attacks in and raise their percentage, or you can press a direction instead and throw them that way. So you can throw them behind you, you can throw them in front of you, you can throw them above you, you can even throw them straight down, which can be good for combo starters. Or you can actually do a combination of the two. You can throw the opponent, attack them a few times, and then toss them in a certain direction. And in fact, I actually do recommend this technique the most. Get a few hits in, and then toss them in your desired direction. That's the best way to maximize damage and also establish stage control. And also keep in mind there are two different types of throws in this game. So Mario, for example, has a close range throw. If Samus is too far away, I can't actually throw her. However, Samus actually has a far range throw, which gives her much greater range. However, that extra range does come at a cost. It's actually much slower as a result, meaning if you avoid it, you have more time to close the gap and attack her before she can even recover and block. And these longer types of throws can also be good for grabbing onto the ledge. This act is known as tethering, and only characters with longer throws can do it. And just like every other attack in the game, throws can also be done while in the air. And in fact, you can also control which direction you throw, so you can go forward and throw, back and throw, up and throw, and even down and throw. And this can be a good option for when the opponent is trying to avoid you in the air. And that's about it for the various attacks. So next let's talk about defense. Blocking in this game is done by using either of the triggers, so left trigger or right trigger. And as you can see, the longer you block for, the smaller your shield actually becomes. And that's a problem because a small shield can be broken by your opponent's attacks much easier. And if your shield actually is broken, your character will be stunned, which makes it very easy for the opponent to start off a combo on you. And that's why blocking in Smash Ultimate is almost always a last resort, unlike most fighting games where it's your go-to defensive option. In Smash, you're much better trying to avoid the opponent and move around them, whether it be jumping, dodging, or even attacking to try to push them back. Most of the time you don't want to block because your block is very limited, and if the opponent does break your block, they get a full combo on you. So blocking is almost always done when you have no other options. So for example, if I was here at the very edge of the map, and Samus had jumped right above me and I had no way to escape in time, I could block and then dodge out of it. So let's talk about that next. So while blocking, if you hold the direction, you can actually go forward or backwards. And if you hold down, you can do an invincible move that dodges in place. It's a bit tougher to time, but you don't give up your positioning, which can be a good option sometimes. Now from what I've learned, you actually don't want to do dodge blocking most of the time. Instead, you're much better off trying to move around the opponent and outmaneuver them. This can be much better than trying to block and dodge, because even though the roll itself is invincible, the opponent can easily predict your movements and then hit you with a smash attack as you recover, and you definitely don't want that. Now one last thing I do want to touch on that I had no clue about until doing my research is that as you're blocking, you can actually change the angle of your shield to be above you or in front of you. And that becomes very useful because the parts of your body that aren't covered by the shield are the parts of your body that your opponent can actually hit. So for example, if I'm blocking right now, and my shield doesn't cover my foot, the opponent can actually hit it. If it's not covering my head, the opponent can hit that too. However, I can try my best to mitigate that by pointing it up, but eventually it will run out and I will be stunned. And this stun has to be mashed out of, but most of the time you're not going to be able to do it before the opponent can actually hit you. And as you saw, I actually stunned myself there by blocking for too long. So the opponent doesn't even have to break your shield, you can just block for too long and stun yourself. So make sure to never actually do that by mistake. Now what if you press block while in the air? Well, you won't actually guard. Instead, you'll do an invincible attack. And you can angle this evade in different directions as well. And on top of dodging, this can also be a great way to maneuver as well, since you can do it after your double jump. So you could jump forward, jump back, and then evade forward. So not only is dodging in the air good for avoiding attacks, but it's also great for making your way back to the stage. And one last thing that I almost forgot to mention is that if you block and then press A, you'll actually throw the opponent. So on top of the shoulder button, you can also throw the opponent by blocking and then pressing A, which can be a bit sneaky in certain situations. And next up, let's talk about teching. After getting hit by the opponent, you can hold the direction and then press the block button to tech. This allows you to recover off the ground immediately and hopefully avoid follow-up attacks from your opponent. And keep in mind you can tech in almost any direction. If you hold back while teching, you'll roll backwards. If you hold forward while teching, you'll tech forward. And if you hold up while teching, you'll tech in place. And once again, you want to press the block button right before hitting the ground. If you time it too late, then you'll stay stuck on the ground. If you do it too early, you'll do an air evade. So it's important to learn that sweet spot timing. And also make sure to constantly mix up which direction you tech to keep your opponent guessing. And that's about it for defense. So next let's talk about a very complex section of Smash, which is getting back on the stage after grabbing the ledge. This is a very complex subject and I'm sure to miss something here. But basically in Smash you're going to be knocked away from the ledge a lot. And once that happens, you're going to try desperately to fight your way back onto the stage. And this can be very difficult because the opponent has many ways to keep you out. However, if you do manage to beat your opponent to the ledge, you have several options you can do once you're there. If you press forward, you'll hop back on the ledge. If you press back, you'll drop back off, which can be a good way to trick your opponent into attacking too early. If you press the jump button, you'll jump up, which can be good for avoiding certain attacks and attacking on the way down. Pressing B or A will do an attack on the way up, and this can be useful if your opponent isn't quite at the ledge yet, or if they're going for a slower attack. If you press the block button, you'll do an invincible roll from the ledge, and this can be good against opponents who are trying to attack you on your way up. Just keep in mind if your opponent predicts this, they can counter it with a smash attack. Make sure to keep every one of these options in mind and constantly mix it up. That way your opponent's never quite sure how you're going to get off the ledge. Now for me personally, trying to get back on the stage is one of the hardest things about Smash, since once the opponent knocks you away, it's very tough for you to get around their offense, but it can be done as long as you stay on your toes and try to outthink your opponent. Alright everyone, that concludes my beginner's guide for Smash Ultimate. Please post anything I missed down in the comments below, and also leave any tips you have down there as well. Let's all become better players together. If you enjoyed this guide and found it helpful, please leave a like down below. And then why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.